Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our Paws on Netflix podcast.
In today's podcast, we're covering the Netflix animated movie Chickenhare and the Hamster of Darkness. And that sounds like such a silly name.
Yes, but based on this wonderful children's book, this movie tells the story of Chickenhare, the son of a king, who's a former adventurer. So Chickenhare wants to prove his worth by finding the fabled artifact, the Hamster of Darkness.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification bells on future podcasts from World of Paws video.
And it sounds fun to say over and over too, Chickenhare, the Hamster of Darkness.
Right. So this has been on our list for a while. It already released earlier of this year. And we already had saved it because to me it sounded like, hey, this title just sounds like it's silly and it's fun. Even if it's not the best, I'll add it in for something to laugh at. And we've been watching a lot of other movies and anime and live action series that we kind of forgot about the film. So we actually didn't end up seeing it until much later. And then we finally sat down one weekend and watched the movie.
And you were right. It's silly and fun, but it is also one of the best Netflix movies.
Yes. And I have never read nor heard of the original book. I just ended up finding out later when I wanted to see how the movie did. And yes, apparently it was a kid's book, and they gave it its Netflix flair, I guess, and decided to make a little possibly standalone movie, unless it's a series, and they decided to make a sequel.
Now, hopefully it stays true to the book. We don't know, as we mentioned, but from the movie as we saw it, and as we viewed it, I should say, we loved it. It was fun. It started off a little slow, but then after the first 5 to 10 minutes, it's a great watch after that.
Right. And one of the biggest things we noticed about it, that we don't know if this is part of the book or of the movie, is that it kind of does tongue-in-cheek with a lot of the adventure-type movies, like you would see with The Mummy or Indiana Jones, or any movie that involved with going on an adventure to find an artifact, and you've proved your worth as an adventurer, and so on and so forth. And they kind of play around with that because they got two characters in the beginning. One's dressed like Indiana Jones. One is like the Watson of it. And the one that's Indiana Jones, the one that can't do anything. And the one that's Watson is the one that's the adventurer. And it's sort of like played on that. And they even have a scene where they're training, like if you can prove you can get past the obstacles, you can go on a quest. And it's all the things you would see in the movies, like a quicksand and the rolling stone like Indiana Jones, a moat, climbing a mountain. It's all the things you would see in those movies.
Now, it also could be called a coming-of-age movie because Chickenhare doesn't feel he belongs, and he wants to.
Yes.
It happens in a lot of movies.
Yes.
He wants to find out who he really is.
Yes, one of those tropes.
But it was done entertainingly in this movie.
Yes.
And it was done with the help of others, not with the character going, well, I don't want your help, don't help me. And you know that happens a lot. But in this one, he accepted the help.
Right.
And it turned out for his good.
Right.
And it helped him to reach the goals he had in finding out whom he is.
Right.
Proving his worth. And just for himself being confident and knowing that he's more than enough.
Right. And another thing they play around is that they usually have the extra characters they add into the quest usually cause the problems. Well, for this one, it was reversed. Chickenhare kind of caused his own problems.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, all you gotta do is take this off or do this, and you can do it. But he rather hide, like he's got feathers on him, like in weird places he's got feathers, so he hides the parts of him that look like the chicken.
He has his feet that look like chicken feet. He wears these giant shoes.
Yeah, look like rabbit
feet. A hindrance. Yeah, and they end up being a hindrance at some point. And he wears a hat to cover the feathers on top of his head.
Right. And throughout the movie, there's a lot of times where he doesn't want to use that part of himself, and that ends up
He's like Shoto in the beginning of MHA not wanting to use the fire.
No, you didn't. And as you said, that kind of hinders him a lot of times in the movie, and then he learns to, accept this part of himself, and you see he actually ends up doing way more than the average person or animal in this universe when he uses these abilities. And the other friends actually try to help him. They don't boss him around. They don't have the characters that are immediately way better than he is. And they really do some creative twists, and they're just trying to help him or convince him like maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. That way you can do it. And they didn't want to force him or be better than him. They were just kind of like, okay, you can do this. You just got to, figure it out, follow along, and that's it, which was really refreshing to see.
The animation is wonderful.
Yes.
And you loved how it was fluid, and the backgrounds were very detailed.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for. The outdoors looked lush and beautiful, and you had the greenery and the plants. They had the quicksand. It actually looked like it was quicksand, not like it was just something there and you had to pretend it was. It looked like it was really quicksand.
Yeah.
And the characters themselves had some really unique designs from other, I would probably say, books you've seen written for children.
Yes. And they have lots of really vast landscapes, like going through a harsh desert, going through the rain, going through a jungle, seeing a native tribe of little
and
pigs.
Rocky caverns.
Yes, and an ice cave, and then you see the temple where all these hamsters were, and the puzzle you have to go through to get to the artifact, and they said, these hamsters must be really compensating for something.
They almost look like gerbils because they were so big. They were really fat. They were really big.
Yeah, we keep seeing that.
Head, they look like gerbils instead of hamsters.
And we keep seeing that. We've seen where they've had guinea pigs that don't look like guinea pigs. And see that they just kind of put guinea pigs, gerbils, and hamsters all in the same category.
They look like guinea pigs. Forgive
me.
Okay. Yes, not gerbils. They look like guinea pigs, so they were so big. If they had bigger heads, you could have mistaken them for guinea pigs.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny because they all, of these latest movies that they've been doing, they all kind of look the same. So unless you really know the difference and you pay attention, you're kind of like, this looks like some other animal.
I had guinea pig and hamster as a kid. Didn't have a gerbil. I don't know. I didn't care for the gerbils.
Oh my goodness. So now there isn't really a huge big stars in here. They kind of kept it lower key, like they would have some known people, but they were more like, for TV or ones you hadn't seen in movies in a while. They didn't really advertise big name people or overseas people. They really kept it low key, and they let the movie shine, and then you see the characters, and then you find out at the end who's playing who, which is something different because a lot of movies we see now don't even bother telling you the people in them. You just find out at the end, unless they feel like they're big enough to show you a commercial, this star's in it, that's what we want you to see.
I think the voice actors, though, did a fantastic job. I really do. Even not knowing who many of them were, they seemed to be perfect casting for the characters.
Yes.
And I wasn't listening and going, well, gee, I could imagine this person doing it, this one doing it. I was enjoying the movie itself so much, and the voice performance says that I enjoyed the voice cast that they had.
Yes. And like I said, we don't know if this is going to have a sequel or if the book even had a sequel. At the
if
end,
any of you have read this book series, if it's one or many, let us know in the comments below.
Right. And the end suggests that there's another one maybe coming, but we've seen a lot of movies have that where, they're off on their next adventure, but you leave it up to your imagination, they never do another one. But who knows, maybe they will do a sequel, because they did a sequel to Son of Bigfoot, and we never thought that was going to happen until we watched it.
But the first one wasn't on Netflix.
Right.
It was on DVD, and the second on Netflix. Netflix, with all they've been doing in their animation departments and letting people go and stuff, you really would hope this would have a sequel.
Right.
But at this point, it seems kind of doubtful. It depends on how successful they feel this movie was. We think it was great, but, in terms of the budget they spent and the viewership, we just don't know.
Right.
If you guys know, let us know in the comments below.
Right. So this was a really fun movie. Do wish we had seen it sooner. I know a couple of people we know had seen it, but it wasn't really a big advertised movie, which we've been finding a lot of stuff like SEAL Team and Kid Cosmic and things are great movies, but they don't get any advertisement, and then people find out like later, and they're like, they chose not to show it off. They just said, it's here, take it or leave it. And Chickenhare apparently was one of those movies because it wasn't a big budget movie like some of their other things on there. So I think this is one of those overlooked films that's on Netflix that you should definitely take a look at and just have some really silly, really great fun.
It's a sleeper that you really should watch. It's fantastic. Didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. Didn't expect to love it,
Yeah.
but I do.
Right.
And I definitely would like to see it again, to see the things we missed,
Right.
to see more of the background and the animation, and to
Yes.
just enjoy it.
Yes.
And yeah, hopefully there's another one. But again, it's fun to say Chickenhare and the Hamster of Darkness.
Right. And lastly, I definitely want to mention that you really don't see a lot of these types of movies anymore where they're just really fun movies, whether it be standalone or a franchise. They're just fun movies to see with your family. There was no ulterior motive with it. The message was really the be yourself message. Let others help you. Be the best you can be. Those type of things. And you really don't see a lot of these types of movies anymore. They usually have some dark edge to it, or it's the one where it has to do with current events and those type of lessons you see over and over and over again. So this was a really nice, refreshing movie to just sit down, relax. It was safe, it was fun, it was clever, and especially if you love adventure movies. And it's something that everyone can watch and everyone can enjoy.
And we failed to mention two things. One, there's the element of good versus evil, because the king has a brother who tries to pretend he's not a villain, but he is, and
he's kind of just Scar as a rabbit.
Right, and the brother wants to take over the kingdom and take it from his brother, and he doesn't care if he has to take him out to do it.
Yeah.
The second thing is that Chickenhare was adopted by the king.
Yes.
And he really loved him from the beginning. The brother, of course, didn't, because he's not royal. And part of that, not knowing who he is and wanting to just learn who he is and be more confident, went hand in hand with that. What was really beautiful about this movie is the king, again, loved him from the beginning. He never not loved him.
Yeah.
And he always told him, you're more than enough. I love you as you are. You're fantastic. And all the compliments and things didn't work with Chickenhare, because his own self-doubt, he would just, reject what his father told him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had accepted those things and had looked into seeing himself the way he was being seen by his father who loved him, then he probably could have accomplished much more than he did when he did in the movie.
Right.
So I just wanted to mention those two things. I think they were important to the movie.
Right.
So yes, it's fun, it's adventure and all that, but there is good versus evil. There's a villain. There's good guys. There's that standard fare as well.
Right. So if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for listening and watching. We really appreciate you. If you want us to check out your channel, leave us the name of it in the comments below. And if you have a moment, go ahead and leave us a link as well, so we can click on it, check it out, and we can subscribe to you as well.
Right. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Mask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.